All right, people, let's have a look at this roll between Andreas and Max. Max is a blue belt. Andreas is a white belt. This footage is about 12 months old. So starting off here, Andreas is defending the turtle with this one hook in. We've got good wrist control here. Could be a good time to start kind of balling up here a little bit and preventing that second hook from being available to come in potentially. This Kimura grip will be tough going for it from the bottom here, but there is a chance if we keep our left thumb on the inside of Max's wrist there that we can at least create some sort of off balance here. But once we've been driven over to our side here, we should basically be in half guard retention mode. So trying to hold onto this leg, and whenever we have a leg trapped inside our half guard, we want that leg to be on the inside. So ideally turning back in towards our partner here, but obviously difficult if they are cross-facing us or underhooking us, like Max is doing a good job of doing here. But almost always trying to turn back onto that inside hip is the right idea, which Andreas is doing a good job at trying to do that now. And now we do manage to get back to a half guard with our knees pointing towards our partner, which is obviously much better than not having that. And we start bringing this left forearm to the inside of the head. So not necessarily a bad idea, and we do manage to hip escape and get that top knee in front. But when we land in the half guard position and our left hand is on the outside here, something that we can do to help bring our partner's head towards the inside when we're looking to recover that top knee position is to try and bridge onto our right hip and use our left arm to try and move Max's head to the inside position. That will hopefully bring his head to the inside and make it easier for us to hip escape and give us more room to get that top knee back in front here. So good job hip escaping, getting that top knee back in front, and now trying to bring that bottom knee up. Obviously, if we're playing a low knee shield, would be a potential upgrade, but you can see Max is doing a very good job here of sprawling off the legs and forcing this half guard chest to chest position. So something that we can do when we find ourselves in a low knee shield position is try to keep this top shin pointing across the hips there. We keep our left forearm on this side of our partner's head so that we can prevent them going crossbody. And we could do that with either an elbow up or elbow down position. But if we keep our left forearm on this side of the head, it will prevent them climbing up our body and we can try and keep their head on the inside there. And then with this left shin across the hips there, ideally we would like to free our bottom leg. So if we can turn our chest towards the mat a little bit, that way we should be able to build up onto our right elbow, our bottom elbow. And when we keep our left shin across the hips there, that can give us a good frame to hip escape out against, and we can try and get that bottom leg free again. So here Max doing a very good job at sprawling on the hips here, and we have got our left forearm in a decent position. We're kind of keeping the head on the inside here, but this is a very common mistake I see, is putting this leg over the back. It is tempting, but what it does is prevent us from using our left foot here as a butterfly hook or our left knee as a knee shield. So just as a rule of thumb, we never want to put our outside leg over the top unless we can get our bottom leg free, or unless we already have that bottom leg free. So in this case, I would prefer if Andreas went to a butterfly hook instead of to a leg over the outside position. And the other thing that might be handy in a position like this is our knee lever. So this is basically a half guard chest to chest type position. And if we go back a second, we can see that our right foot is still in place here. So the knee lever is very handy when our partner has that knee on the ground. So this isn't exactly the perfect time to go for it, but perhaps if we know we have that top leg being sprawled off of, it might be a good time to try and get our partner's knee to the mat using this inside foot. And then a knee lever is when we keep their knee on the floor with crossed ankles here, and we try and basically slap our legs to the side here. So a John Wayne sweep is when we do that voluntarily from a half guard knee shield when we've set up some kind of 2-on-1 grip, and a knee lever would be when we do that when we have to, when we're forced into a half guard chest to chest type position. So maybe not the perfect time to perform that technique, but I do think it's a very good thing for you guys to study here, the half guard knee lever. And I'll put a link to that after the video. So here, half guard chest to chest. Andreas is doing a good job with that butterfly hook and trying to keep that left forearm active on the inside of Max's neck, pushing his head away. And we managed to get the second butterfly hook in, which is very good. We've got our knees free now. And then here, pushing the head up is a good idea, trying to keep our butterfly hooks in as much as possible. It's a little bit difficult to see what's going on with the upper body here, but basically anytime our partner has a butterfly guard, we want to try and get our back off the mat and get their hands separated. So we could push the head away, or we could try and pull their elbows and a forward shift here. But again, this is a situation where bringing that left leg over the back isn't ideal, and we can see that Max's hips and knee are on the ground here. So this might be a good time for that knee lever that we talked about before, trying to sweep to the opposite side, which may not work, but it might give our partner cause to separate their hands and post on the mat or something like that. So good job pushing this head down. And I would say here we are doing a good job of building up onto the base, but because Max has his hands almost linked together here, it's going to be difficult for us to free our bottom knee because this left elbow of Max is kind of trapping that inside there, and he's looking to work this left knee in towards the hip. So in a situation like this, our right hand can be used to try and get on the inside of the bicep or the wrist so that we can ideally separate our partner's hands here. So most of the time, building up onto our base like this isn't a great idea when our partner has our hands linked together and we can't push their head forwards enough to the inside because our hand will be reachable here. And so this is a spot here with that left hand over the top where it might be preferable to actually bring this left hand in front of the face. So if we have our left hand in front of the face, our forearm could still act as a frame against the neck here, and it will prevent our partner sliding their shoulder up underneath our armpit and essentially consolidating a good topside underhook. So with our left forearm vertical with our hand on the inside, that might give us a little bit more chance of keeping their head away from us and prevent them from climbing up higher up our body. So here, very good job with that right hand. We can see as soon as we started defending that and breaking the grips, we were able to get our bottom knee a little bit more free and potentially here look to maintain outside position because we are on our back and get our feet in front of our partner if we need space. But this is a good opportunity to play some kind of De La Riva guard because we've done a good job at bringing our feet to the outside. So we can add an element of control by using our right hand around the ankle here. And that way we could start looking for tripod sweeps and entries into the wader, etc. So this is a very classic guard passing moment here where we're on our back and our partner is controlling both of our ankles. So if we don't address that soon enough, we're going to be in trouble sooner or later. And so the best way to address the situation where our partner is controlling both of our ankles is to try and kick our feet free. And ideally, when we do that, we're still bringing our knees towards our chest. So this the right foot of Andreas being on the inside of the forearm is a good position, makes it much harder for Max to hold onto that ankle and do anything too effective with it. But this left knee of Andreas could come closer to his shoulder. And with his knee closer to his shoulder, he'll have an easier time circling his feet and trying to get his foot free from this grip. And also, if we bring our left knee to our shoulder here, sorry, these arrows are terrible, then we should also be able to start reaching with our left hand for Max's wrist, and that can help us free these ankle grips as well. So as Max is coming around to the side here, there's kind of this decision-making process, which happens a lot when we're playing a guard from our back, and we feel like we're not sure if we are retaining guard or attacking. And this is a spot where, yes, there are some sexy entries we can do into saddle and things like that from a position like this. But as a rule of thumb, I think that looking to frame with our arms and keep our partner's chest away from us or whatever is coming in first away from us, and then trying to get our feet to the outside position before we make a grip. So you can see that Andreas has a grip with his left hand, but his left foot is essentially stuck across the body here, which means we're vulnerable to this leg being passed across in this direction as well, and then we won't have any feet in front of our partner. So as a really good rule of thumb, we want outside position first with our feet before we start making grips on the ankles. And this is a situation that beginners get into all the time where they want to feel attached to their partner. But right now we're kind of in defense mode, so we should be looking to try and get our feet to the outside before we make a grip. I'm just going to mark this note because there's a very good video from Less Impressed, More Involved that mentions some key details around outside position and then making grips. And I'll put a link to that in after the video here. So we're doing a good job at trying to frame and bring our feet back in front of our partner like so. We need to try and keep our feet off the floor as much as possible and trying to keep our feet in the outside position. So this is another situation where Max is doing a good job of controlling the feet. And if we ball up a little bit here, we might be able to use our right hand on this wrist of Max and start freeing our feet from being controlled. And now we're in this kind of awkward position where we're trying to sit up and get to a seated guard, but our feet are being controlled, which makes it very difficult for us to get all the way to a seated position because our feet are just in the air. And it also means that it's hard for us to get into proper seated guard positioning, which will be with our shoulders forwards of our hips. Whereas right now you can see that the shoulders are past the hips a little bit. So if Max were to start changing sides, then it would be difficult for us to follow him or be in a very offensive position here. So Max is doing a good job at setting a nice pace during this round here, but as a general rule, we want our feet free when we try and get up to a seated guard so that we can play that position correctly and have the opportunity to move backwards here. So Andreas does a good job at making space here. He's hand fighting, potentially looking to wrestle up on the knees here a little bit, which is just an awkward spot to be in, but we do almost get to a double leg there. So the reason why this knees position is a little bit awkward is because our partner just knows that our options are limited. We can't really enter into single X or an outside position guard from like this kneeling position. So I would say if we wanted to wrestle up, then wrestling is good. So if we try and stand all the way up here instead of staying on our knees, we'll be in a better position to hand fight and look for takedowns. So it's actually like about as good as the hand fighting can get while we're on our knees there. And we start reaching for the legs. But because we're already on our knees, we lose that ability to cover distance with penetration steps, and we can't roll our hips over our knees like we would be able to from a seated guard position. But still, we do a pretty decent job at getting to a double leg position here, but Max is doing an excellent job at sprawling. So once we get sprawled on and we're in this double overs type position here, we have a couple of options, but the main one, particularly if we wanted to start wrestling again, would be to try and sit out. So reaching for the legs there gives our partner an opportunity to potentially fight the hands and whatnot. So I would say that a really good option after we end up in a sprawl double leg situation where our hands are no longer in contact with the legs is to try a sit out or a peek out. I can't remember which one it is, but basically we're trying to put both of our hands on the mat and pop up towards our feet so that we can start driving our knees forward and looking to peek out. So generally, whichever side our head is on would be a good side to go to, particularly when our partner has double over grips like they do now. But you can see here, Max is starting to attack our front head. So looking to sit out or peek out as soon as somebody tries to get in on our legs would be a great option. As soon as we fail getting in on our partner's legs, rather. And now we're in this spot here, getting pushed back, starting to play some passing now. So we're looking at passing on our knees, which is, nothing wrong with that. Bit of shit talking going on here, I imagine. And now looking to stand up, get towards outside position. But you can see that Max is doing a good job with that forward head position. So this is what I was talking about before. When we're playing seated guard, we want to be a lot more of the position that Max is in, right? With our shoulders far forwards of our hips. So this isn't exactly ideal leg configuration for Max on the bottom here, but still it means that we have the ability to move forwards. We also have the ability to switch to snapping the head down and moving our head backwards. So whenever we're passing and we are standing versus our partner seated, we also have the option of snapping our partner's head down. When their head is very far forwards of their hips, and you can see that Max's leg is kind of tucked in a little bit here, snapping in this direction will be very successful. And at least we'll make them put their hands on the mat and stop hand fighting so well. Otherwise, we should generally be looking to push our partner onto their back into a supine type guard position where we can start looking to get to outside position. So here, again, looking for some passing. Max is doing a good job kind of threatening the hip heist here. and we're looking to put our partner on their back. We start stepping into our headquarters, which is good. We have now split the legs, which means Max's left foot is on the outside of our body and his right foot is stuck underneath. So we have a lot more time to figure out what we want to do guard passing wise. And here we've got our hips up a little bit. We're looking to get rid of this forearm frame. All of this stuff is pretty good here. But what I would say as a general positioning thing is once we step into a headquarters type position, then looking to step a little bit further forward with this right foot and squatting our hips down on top of the left shin of Max. So if we can keep Max's heel stuck towards his butt there, then that's going to make it much harder for them to extend and create space to get their left foot back in front. So we have a good passing position here, but we need to put more weight down on our partner's hips and prevent them from being able to pummel again. So headquarters is a great position to get good at. If we can squat down on top of this shin here, and generally what I would do is use my hands kind of in the armpits, like fingers in armpits, thumbs on top, gives us the opportunity to pummel for underhooks when we can. And it also means that we are keeping our partner's shoulders flat on the mat. And with our hips forwards a lot more here, then we'd be able to reach our arms over the top there and put some downward pressure on our partner. So we're doing the right thing. We're addressing that frame that's coming and trying to collapse it in close towards the body here as we're kind of rolling our hips off. And now we're in this kind of half guard with a foot on the hip. So generally here, we would be trying to smash our partner's knees together. Might be a little bit harder while that foot's on the hip, but very good job. Recognizing that that foot on the hip is also very close to being passed to in front of the body there. And a general rule when you are looking to pass is try and get both of your partner's feet on one side of your body, like we've done now. So Andreas has done a very good job at circling to the side here, and Max is forced to start turtling. Really good job at keeping Max on his side. And now we're looking to upgrade our control of the hips and the armpits. Now, when Max turtles, there's almost always going to be this space opening up between the hip and the armpit, which is where we want our feet to be eventually when we start taking the back. So if we can get, ideally, our bottom hook in when our partner is turtling, that would be great. And this is a movement that is quite predictable. When our partner isn't able to turn in towards us, they're often going to try and turn away from us. And what we can do is use our left elbow, kind of back elbowing on the hip there, or alternatively our hand, just keeping that hip pulling back towards us so that as our partner turtles, it's going to be very slow. Whereas once we've started reaching for the upper body here with that left arm and we're concentrating more on the shoulders, it means that Max is able to move his hips quite quickly into this turtle position. But even when Max has moved this into this turtle position quickly, you can still see all this space. So that would be a great time to start ideally throwing our left foot in as a hook, our right foot, or our right knee into this space. So we could start stepping our left foot over the ankle for a Casoto hook so that we can start performing our back takes. And generally moving around behind our partner is a very good idea here. We kind of have a seatbelt grip, which means we are vulnerable to being shaken off the top, particularly if we don't have a deep hook in. So I think for Andreas here, a better option would be to try and move our weight a little bit behind our partner so that we can have more time to get our hooks in, our knees in, our Casoto hooks in, and we can stop the potential for us to be sliding off the top there. So you can see this kind of Nelson grip being used. It's good to have underhooks here. So we switch to double unders and Max is starting to lift his chest up. As soon as somebody is starting to lift their chest up, then that's generally an indication that we don't have enough weight on their back. So I think Andreas is doing a good job with his knees and his feet positioning in terms of making it a little bit harder, for Max to stand up with this right foot. But something that we can think about when we're attacking turtle and we have the double unders grips is to bring our shoulders up so that they're behind our shoulders. Because we have the double unders, we don't have to be as worried about falling off the top because our arms underneath our partner's arms will stop us from moving past their upper arm there. So here, I think just bringing a little bit more weight over the top of Max will prevent him from reaching back for whizzers and things like this. When somebody is reaching back for a whizzer, running around to the other side is extremely good because it limits their ability to use that whizzer effectively. And now we can look to start breaking our partner down. So you can see here we're kind of behind our hips and Max's chest is very free and able to move upwards. So trying to slide our chest forwards up our partner's back will also make it easier for us to put our hooks in. You can see when our hips are sagging down behind our partners here, even when we step up, we don't have the ability to throw that right hook in. And if we do, it will feel a little bit weak. So if we have the option here with double unders, trying to bring our chest forward over the top of our partner would be a lot better. Doing a good job at sliding that left knee in. I would keep that left knee in there as a way of acting as basically an underhook here. And as a general rule, I say general rule of thumb a lot, don't I? So here, when we're attacking with double unders, and we are looking to jam our left knee into that space, that would be a good time to switch to a seatbelt because our left knee will act as an underhook and start reserving the space in between his hip and his armpits for our hooks. And it will mean that we can start using our crossface hand, our left hand, to start moving our partner's head away, weakening or misaligning our spine, and our right foot will have time to start Casoto hooking and breaking our partner's hips down. Whereas when we switch towards a seatbelt or we start attacking this far arm, we're just losing very good opportunities that are taken the back here. But, sometimes you just got to stop a man from standing up and wrangle him over, and that's all good too. But you can see here again, when Max was trying to turn away, it was very slow because we had lots of weight on his hips. And then once we start switching our control to the upper body there, that means those hips are very free, so that it's going to make it difficult unless we are trying to open up opportunities to attack arm bars and things like that, which would be a little bit more high risk, high reward. So here we have the double under spot, and hopefully Max performs a sit out. Yeah, perfect. That's pretty much what I'm talking about earlier in this video here, is this 4-pointing and then looking to sit out. Now, Max does a very good job, maybe almost surprises himself with how quickly that arm came off, but we have more or less two directions here. One is to try and bounce back towards the back, which would be preferable, and the other is to keep spinning around in this direction and potentially start attacking front head. So that's exactly what I was talking about before when we're on that double under spot. So to stop that, when we're in this double over spot attacking from front head, we ideally want to keep our partner's elbows on the mat and the weight heavy on their hips. So if we can use our double unders and our hips that's covering the back of Max's head, we're in a very good position here to start driving our partner back so that their butt is stuck on their heels. And then we can start pinching their elbows together, looking to pull their upper body forward and hopefully flattening them out and pinning them very effectively. The other thing that I would say here is double unders are good, but sometimes linking our hands together from this north-south orientation does leave us vulnerable to sit-outs. So the way that we would stop that is by what Nicky Ryan calls kangaroo grips. And that means our hands kind of hooking over the top of Max's triceps. So if we have our hands over the top of Max's triceps with our elbows in front here of the bicep, then that means that when Max goes to row this elbow backwards, it'll be much harder. So you can see when Max starts building up to a 4-point, because our left forearm is in the armpit here, it means Max has this big movement available with that right elbow. And if we were blocking that with our forearm, it would be much harder. So now looking to attack with a seatbelt here, and again, perhaps an opportunity to start throwing the right knee in towards the hip or stepping our left foot over with the hook. Another thing that we can practice from here when we have broken our partner down to a hip is that it's very predictable they're going to be posting on this arm. So if we can use our right hand to wrap around the arm and start bringing his elbow in towards his hip to bend his arm, then we'll be able to break him down to this shoulder. So that's something that MMA guys are really good at when they're breaking people down from turtle, is anticipating that post and looking to bend the elbow so they can put the shoulder on the mat. So here we just try and put hooks in a little bit lazily without sort of popping up to our feet there. We do a very good job of linking our hands together in a seatbelt again. And so whenever we have our seatbelt with the underhook on the top, then more or less, if they have escaped our bottom leg, we should be trying to get back up to our knees so that we can keep our chest behind the top shoulder of Max and keep his chest facing away from us. And then that will let us move towards our chair sit back take. If we did have our bottom hook in and we're trying to get this top hook in, or maybe we're on our side with this seatbelt like we are now and we're trying to get this top hook in, a good way of doing that is by, instead of trying to chop that leg over the top of the arm is to try and point our knee outwards so that our foot can go through first. But that will be difficult from this position when we're on our side. So hopping up to our knees will kind of solve that problem for us, like Andreas is doing a good job at doing now. And that's pretty good chest to a shoulder connection here, but we've moved around to north-south. So ideally, we would keep our body a little bit over in this line here so that we can roll our partner's chest towards the mat a little bit more, start looking to perform our seatbelt. So here, trying to keep Max on his side, but when we're not behind the shoulder there in that perpendicular angle to our partner, it's going to be difficult. So this is a good passing position for Andreas here. We are controlling the hip and for preventing Max from hip escaping. And now our head comes up a little bit and Max is able to re-guard. So almost always when we're in a position like this, our head being used to come over the top of the bicep here and keep Max's forearm stuck more towards his chest would be good. And then we can start working on lowering the left side of our body to prevent Max from being able to get that right foot or right knee back in front of us. And we can start hand fighting with our right hand, looking to pin this wrist, looking to push the knee down, just generally looking to advance our position here. So using your head as a frame, our head to defeat the frame of our partner on the bottom is a really good skill to have. So now here, Max is doing a good job playing butterfly guard, trying to win this head under head position, which will make it easier for him to start attacking. But Andreas has done a very good job with this underhook, and we could start looking to sprawl off the hooks and get towards body lock type passes from there. So I'll just pause this video really quickly, add in some references for you. So here are two references for you. This is a video that Craig Jones made a long time ago called What is a Knee Lever? And he looks at a bunch of different MMA footage as well as jiu-jitsu footage, but it's a very good thing to get good at when your partner is almost half guard chest to chest or they have forced that position. And then this less impressed, more involved video is probably the best explanation I've seen in terms of why we want to get to outside position with our feet first when we're playing a supine guard before we start making grips with our hands. And then obviously once you get as good as Lockie or Levi, you can do whatever you want and break those rules. But this is a very good way to start thinking about your supine guard. So hopefully this helps, and I'll catch you guys next time.